Hi! Today I'm talking about Bleak House, which is another of my favorite period dramas. This is another BBC one, a TV miniseries from 2005, and it is an adaptation of the Charles Dickens novel. I think that one of the highest recommendations, the strongest recommendations I can give for a period drama is whether or not my dad likes it. There aren't many period dramas that I would go ahead and say that my dad likes. He has seen Pride and Prejudice. I wouldn't say he likes it, and he's seen many different versions of Jane Eyre. Still, he's familiar with the story, but this one is different. This one struck a chord with him that resonated. He will make a Bleak House reference every now and then, which is just really different, really cool to see. As you probably would expect by now, as it is a BBC miniseries, this is long. It is split up into episodes. Some of them are an hour long, some of them are half an hour long, and so there are pretty natural stopping points. Thing is, each one ends with a cliffhanger, and so you just kind of want to keep going because you want to find out what happens. When you hear period drama, you pretty much expect romance, a love story, multiple marriage proposals, and that is in here, but it is not at all the entire focus of the thing. At the crux of the story is this legal case, Jarndyce versus Jarndyce. Jarndyce. It's very hard to say that without a British accent.
Jarndyce and Jarndyce.
John Jarndyce.
Mr. Jarndyce.
Jarndyce and Jarndyce.
Jarndyce and Jarndyce.
Basically, this guy Jarndyce had a lot of money, and he wrote a few different wills, and after he died, people weren't sure which will was officially the last will, so they don't know who the money goes to, and even after he's been long buried, there are still people who are fighting to get the money. And Dickens, as you would expect, uses this one case and how it affects a whole group of people to show how messed up the British legal system was. Don't make the mistake of thinking that it sounds dry, it's not. There is legal drama, but it's not just a courtroom and lawyers going around pushing papers and blah blah blah. No, there is a lot of stuff going on here. It's like a sophisticated soap opera. I think that one of the best things about it is the humor. A lot of people don't realize that Dickens was really funny. He wrote some great funny lines, crazy situations, hilarious characters. I mean, he's definitely on point here. Mr. Guppy, who is both smarmy and sweet at the same time, and every time he shows up, you just have to smile because he's just so quirky and weird.
I'm mortified.
And then there's Mr. Smallweed, who is disgusting.
Judy, shake me up.
George, my old friend.
Shake me up a bit.
That's enough, you poor parrot.
And Inspector Bucket, who's played by Alun Armstrong, who for some strange reason that I can't really explain is a personal favorite of mine. And the whole time you're just like, what is up with him? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy?
I'll have the law on you!
We are the law, Mr. Smallweed.
One of the funniest parts is this one scene where someone dies unexpectedly by spontaneous human combustion.
Queer sort of flavour in the air.
You're thinking in the back of your head, like, is that really possible?
Soot. Very greasy to the touch.
The way it plays out is so strange.
Like a Christmas pudding in a pool of brandy.
Exactly so, Your Honour. Except I believe in this case it was in fact gin.
Not to change tone completely, but at the same time that there are all of these really funny or bizarre scenes, there are also really emotional scenes. There are a few death scenes that are very poignant and have a huge impact on the characters. There's this really important scene that I can't really talk about because I don't want to give anything away. It is probably the emotional apex of the entire story. It is the reunion between two of the main characters. There's a factor there that really hits me every time. Not because I identify with it, but I can empathize to a certain extent. And I know I'm being vague, and I apologize, but it's just really good. So, as you've probably figured out, the story here is kind of sprawling. There are a lot of characters, a lot of things going on, so the first time or two, it might be a little hard to follow. But the performances are so good that it's worth it to be confused, and you'll at least be able to follow along with the basics of the story. I would imagine that writing the screenplay was a bit of a pain, because you really can't cut anyone out. You can't do without any of them. They're all so involved with each other in some way or another. Because these characters are so important and they wanted them to make such an impression, I think they worked really hard to cast just the right people. And this cast is so good. I'm pretty confident that you will recognize someone in this movie. Even if you don't do period dramas, you will recognize someone. I don't know, I'd say Esther Summerson is probably my favorite character in the whole thing. Really hard to say, though. To freshen up the production a little bit, they used some more modern editing techniques, especially for establishing shots at the beginning of a scene. You could be like me, and the first time you see it, just be like, what's happening? It contributes to the generally modern-ish, fast-paced feel of the entire program. I don't always get used to the new modern things, but in this case I was willing, and that helped a lot. I happen to have read this book, actually. It is, right here. And, it's a big, fat book. And I read it after I had seen the show a couple of times. It was very good. Made me cry. I might go so far as to say that I like the miniseries better. Don't tell anyone, but as long as it is, it doesn't take nearly as long as rereading this would take, and the performances are just so stellar. So that's my review of Bleak House. You can get it in this nice little 3 DVD set. I highly recommend it. One of my favorite period dramas. If I was going to be stuck on an island and I could only have 5 period dramas, it would definitely be on the list. Although, why I would have... That's a stupid thing to say. Anyway, bye! Till next time.